Hey everyone, just wanted to post a quick review of my RecRoom Masters Xtension Sit-Down Pro cabinet. I've got the 4-player Ultimate controller, which works really well. The instructions said to use nothing bigger than a 42-inch TV. Unfortunately, that was a little bit harder to find, so I ended up using a 43-inch TV. Tight fit. I had to get some special bolts, and honestly it's a little too big to be sitting down, so you should listen to the recommendations on their website. I'm gonna keep trying it because I don't really want to buy another TV right now, but I got this one open box from Best Buy, so it was a really good deal. But definitely listen to instructions on the website. I wouldn't go, if you could, ideal if you found something like exactly 40 inches or 36 inches or so would be perfect. You can see the bottom of the screen's a little cut off on this one. Honestly, it doesn't matter when you're playing games because most of the games they have like a built-in bezel that comes up to here. It actually kind of adds some immersion. It's hard to explain. Maybe I'll be able to show it in a video. So it looks good, but the only problem I have is it's really hard on your eyes sitting up this close to something this big. Anyway, you've got, this is what I'm using for sound. And then you can open up this cabinet. I've got a keyboard in here for Mame cabinet, instructions for speakers, and for the controller board here. Xbox controllers, because it's really easy to switch to use an Xbox to play like Gamecube and stuff like that. With the system I'm using, I got my aim track light guns here set up on the side with holsters. You can see here I got two, probably overkill. And then this is cool about this cabinet is you can just open it up right here. I've got my speakers. These are two Edifier speakers that are pointing towards the back wall, and then I'm hoping they bounce back, and actually the sound is really good. These things boom, and it's perfect right up against the wall. I'm using a smart LED switch power right there, so basically when you turn the PC on, it turns everything else on, and when you turn the PC off, it turns everything else off. This is probably it's like a $20 thing that just changes everything with the cabinet. It just makes life so much easier. I've got and that right there is for recoil for the light guns. I'm still waiting on the other one of that. So basically, and actually you turn on the power here, so you got to open this up every time. You can get an external switch to put up here if you wanted to. I tried doing that, but I would have had to break things inside the computer, just little plastic tabs and whatnot to figure it out. And since I paid for this computer from somebody else, I didn't want to deal with it. And actually, I hate to say I paid for this from somebody else, but that's the reality. Because I've built my own images in the past for like arcade one-ups and things like that, and it's a lot of work, man. I didn't want to do it ever again, and honestly with that stuff I couldn't get the light guns to work the way I wanted to for every game like it would work for certain stuff, and you were limited with the Raspberry Pi, so I really wanted to go big, and I didn't want to do it myself because I knew it would take months. So I purchased this system, and it's got everything on it, man. It is super slick. Let's see. So let's close that up. And here we go. Starting up. Probably gonna be a little loud. Anyway, you don't have to watch that intro, you can skip through it. Let's see what we got here. So we get just use player 1, and you've got access to all these games. Now some of these are better using a controller. That's why I've got these right here, and they're plug and play. You turn them on and they work. Which is, you know, man, setting that up on a Raspberry Pi is a nightmare. So it's nice to have it right there, seeing as you're going to have all these extra games. But this is really what I bought this system for, is you got all this stuff, you know, that was in arcades that you didn't have other places. Also, another awesome thing about this cabinet is that you can't get on like a Raspberry Pi or whatever, is you've got, you know, like your keyboard controls and a trackball. This will act as your keyboard, which is just so awesome. It also works with trackball games. I can't tell you how helpful this is. You got a pause button if you want to pause like even Street Fighter in the middle of a game. 4 players, of course. Right click, left click. Super slick. I can't tell you how helpful that is. Let's get it. So exit. And this system's super fast, man. Like, got all these old school arcade games, Model 3. Yeah, check this out. This is badass. It's got Daytona 2. I didn't even know they made a Daytona 3. You can hook up a steering wheel to this system, no problem. Virtual On, all these old school games, man. You can play with Xbox controller or these controllers, depending on the game. Let's see what else we got here. Model 2. This is just stuff you can't get on. I mean, you can do Dreamcast now and Raspberry Pi and whatnot, but you can't do some of this stuff yet. You know, maybe, you know, next couple iterations, but like this is Mario Kart Arcade from Japan. I never played that before in my life. This type of stuff is just super awesome. Wii U stuff, this all works on here perfectly. You got to use the Xbox controller. I'm sure you could configure it to use these if you wanted to. I haven't gotten around to that yet. I will eventually. Wii works fine on these, which is cool. Gamecube. Let's see. Yeah, it goes on and on, man. Pinball games. I haven't tried pinball in here. I grew up with the Apple II, so this is really cool for me. And I got a keyboard, I can play it. Probably won't do too much of that. Jaguar, which I loved growing up, but you know, looking back, wasn't that great. You got like PopCap on here, so you got like Plants vs. Zombies that works with the trackball. Oh yeah, you got like all your modern, like Brutal Dooms on here, but more importantly, you got modern fighting games on here. Like this was big for me, you know, Killer Instinct. You got the new Killer Instinct. It works perfectly on this. It's all configured. It's super cool. And you see how fast in and out I'm going over this stuff. Gun games. This was big for me because I grew up, I love Mad Dog McCree, but all these gun games work perfectly. And there's separate settings for all this. So you just pull out your gun and play. We've got, yeah, let's see. I mean, you got not just that stuff, you got like, you know, gun games I've never heard of in here. It's real easy to cycle through. See how I'm cycling. Once you get used to the system, it's super easy, but like, there's Time Crisis, of course, is huge. Such a big deal for me to get the guns for. At this Transformers game is super awesome. Man, you know, I really want the Syngen lights too, but I didn't want to wait, and who knows how long it's gonna, hopefully those are plug and play, but you never know. So that's guns, Daphne. This is another thing I had a hard time setting up on Raspberry Pi. It works great on here. God, there's just so much. Fightcade, I tried that out last night. I plugged an Ethernet cable into this. I was playing Street Fighter with people all over the world. It's nuts. I can't believe that stuff's happened. I got my ass kicked, of course. Anyway, let's see. So you can go into Mame here, and then you can like do favorites. And this is not just a normal Mame list that you get on like Raspberry Pi, where it's just mostly like 2D games. This has, you know, like you can go through this game list, and it's nuts, man. It's got like Cruis'n USA, a bunch of like 3D games that you forget about because you've been using Mame so much on the Raspberry Pi. At least I have. You forget that these old school arcade games exist in some cases. You got your 4-player games here, which is exactly why I bought this cabinet, even though I'll probably never use it. That's the dream, get the kids playing. Let's see, how do I get out of here? There we go. So back to, this is just the Mame's list, and it just goes on and on and on. But yeah, all these games just work. That's another reason to buy this thing. It's just super slick. Like, I've never even heard of some of these games, and it, you know, pulls up these slick things. Now, not everything's on here, but you know, like 99% of the stuff is covered in here. And let's see, you got your toolkit in case anything gets broken on here, which is super helpful. And then, God, man, we got everything in here. This is like more modern stuff, you know. Prince of Persia, the 3D version, just totally cool. That's about it, man. I can't recommend this enough. The guy, the owner, Wayne, at RecRoom Masters, he was super awesome. I got a little pumped up, and I screwed up part of the install, and I had just missed something in the instructions, and he walked me through it and explained it to me. Their service is awesome. The guy who made the build for me, this computer build, his name is arcade-1.com. If you go to his website, his name's Carlos. He's been super helpful. He logged in and set up this controller for me. He flashed all the boards and everything. I can't recommend those two companies enough. Anyway, as you'll see, so I exit here, I hit select, and everything shuts down because of that smart switch in there. So I don't have to do anything, that's it. So I just push one button to turn it on, one button to turn it off, and it's super slick. Anyway, like I said, this is the best control unit I've ever used. This is night and day from anything you're gonna get on an Arcade 1-Up. And I'm not dissing it, because I started on Arcade 1-Up. Well, I started flashing the mini systems in the modding, and then I went to Arcade 1-Up, and I took it as far as I could, and I love it. But I couldn't take it any further, so I had to get one of these. And actually, I sold all 3 of my modded Arcade 1-Ups in order to be able to afford this thing. And I don't regret it for once, because it was an itch that I couldn't scratch. Like, I hate it when things aren't perfect. And I feel like I finally achieved perfection. I wanted the original style arcade machine, but my wife's Japanese, and she preferred the more Japanese style, so this is our compromise, and it's awesome. This stuff is such quality. It doesn't make sense until you try it, but trust me, if you can afford it, if I could stop anybody, like, well, look, you're gonna need to learn how to do a lot of stuff. Even though this is a lot of plug and play, there's still a lot of technical stuff you gotta just be able to know how to do to get all this stuff working, you know. So if you want to upgrade to something like this in the future, like I did after coming from an Arcade 1-Up and Raspberry Pi and stuff like that, you can do this. You can build your own CoinOps build if you wanted to and put it in here, and it would work fine, I'm sure. I'm working on one of those too. I actually ordered one of these guys, Pinball vertical machines. That's coming in a couple weeks, so I'm stoked about that. But anyway, I just wanted to post this review because I couldn't find anybody who had this exact setup that they show on the website, and that's why I'm posting it here. This is my light gun thing. Anyway, just let me know if you have any questions. Send me something. This has been a dream for me, and I feel finally satisfied that I can actually play the games instead of constantly modding and tweaking stuff. So anyway, this is for the person who was thinking about buying this cabinet and couldn't find anything about it online. So I highly recommend it. It's super awesome. If you can afford it, go for it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Bye.